Good morning, coders. Hello, happy coding. This fine Wednesday morning. My Stream Deck has decided to fail again. I don't know why. So I'm going to have to push buttons in the old style on OBS. So do shout if I get the wrong overlay. Today what we're going to do is we're going to work on the null object pattern. The null object pattern, and we're going to do so in PHP. It's a design pattern. It's not technically part of the gang of 4 design patterns, but I think it's worth a shout. I think it's worth a shout out. It is actually used in a lot of places. The null object pattern allows you to have a means of sort of capturing the fact that there could be a null response on an object. Usually this will throw an exception, right? Usually this will just catch fire and blow up and cause all sorts of problems. But you might want to handle this in different ways. A good way, a good example is perhaps Symfony console commands and Symfony monologue stuff, because there, if there is the chance of a command that doesn't exist, then it will return a null command, and then it will attempt to run the same behaviors as the other commands, but obviously because it's a null object, nothing actually gets ran, so it's actually an empty object, but it doesn't throw an exception. Likewise with the logging. So for instance, if you were trying to log and you didn't specify the path of the log, then your application shouldn't catch fire just because the logging isn't set up. Also, a good example, I suppose, or a better analogy is, let's imagine you were iterating over a directory structure, and that directory structure, what you were doing was you're looping through that directory structure and you were printing out all of the files. Now imagine, if you will, that in the directory structure there was directories within directories, and in some of those directories we didn't have any files whatsoever, so it's completely blank. So what would you do? Would you loop through each one and then check whether or not there is a file, and if there is, print one out? Or would you print things out regardless of whether they're there or not? If that is the case, then you would have to handle the fact that the response is null, that there isn't any files or directories to print out and loop through. So this is a way of capturing that kind of logic, I guess, that kind of use case. We're going to cheat this morning. We're going to cheat, and we're going to work on a pattern that we've already worked on before, and that is the command pattern. Good morning, Trinad. Thank you for joining. Hello, Segfault Anxiety. It's evening for you, but well, I have a cup of tea because this is my second cup of tea of the morning. Slightly more caffeinated than yesterday, I think. Yum, yum, yum. So the null object pattern is what we're playing with today, and I'm going to cheat by using a pattern that we've already used for, and I'm just going to modify it. I'm going to press, no, those buttons don't work, so I'm going to just go onto OBS and move my mouse over like the Dark Ages and try and get the right one working. There we go. It's funny how much you rely on technology and then the technology doesn't work, so that you have to go back to old stuff. So I've got a Stream Deck here with all of my buttons laid out, all of the things that, I just press buttons and it goes to different slides, different things. But I've recently, for some stupid reason, upgraded my version of OBS, and they're no longer talking to each other. So I need to spend some time just to work through that. But that's probably going to take like anywhere from an hour to half a day out of my thing. So I'm going to sort of wait until the weekend to have a proper look at that. I really should not have upgraded OBS without considering the implications. So anyway, enough of that random banter. Let's talk about the null object. I've noticed that I don't actually have it here, which is a bit weird. I don't know where my head was when I decided that these are the patterns that we were going to use, because I don't have the null pattern here. It's a behavioral pattern. I don't have it here either. Okay, so let's just start from scratch, shall we? What I'm going to do, because we're going to use the command pattern for this, and I'll just explain why I'm doing that. So let's say, for example, let's go to the view here, right? So imagine, if you will, let's just bring that down a minute. Just focus on this stuff here. At the moment, what we're doing is on the invoker, we're setting the command, right? So apply discount, and then we're running that. And then here we're setting another command, which is calculate shipping command. But imagine, if you will, that we never actually set a command in the first place, and we just ran invoke. We just ran run, right? We ran run. We executed run without setting a command. What's going to happen here? What will happen if we go into the run here? It's going to expect that there is a command, and the command gets set by the set command here. So you pass in the command. If we don't have a command, if we haven't set the command, it's going to blow up. It's going to throw a horrible wobbly. It's going to catch a light and burn the building down. That is not what we want to do at all. We want to find a way of running this command, or using this command pattern without a command, right? We want to capture that use case. So what we're going to do is we're going to hack this up. Let me just go back. We're going to keep the command pattern as is, because that's about the command pattern. I was actually thinking about doing like a sort of a project in the set, after this course, where you would have to learn one pattern and then learn another pattern, and it builds up. But anyway, that's maybe for another day. I got a bit of a croaky throat this morning. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to copy the command, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to do null. It's null object, and we're just going to plop that all in. I'm going to need to change all the various things, like the namespaces and everything. So let's see. We can do a quick check on that, can't we? And we can do a right click in here, and I think there is a replace in path, even better. We'll put that in, and we want to replace this with null object. null, no, we're not using Objective-C. Null object. There we go. And just double check everything's going through. That should change. Yeah, that looks good. Replace. Excellent. Thank you very much, PHP Storm. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we'll do an example where we do actually run an object, run a command. Sorry, run an object, run a command. So in this case, we're going to do let's do the first two, right? So we're going to run this all the way from it is apply discount, which is that one and that one. So we're not going to worry about these. I like doing like 3 examples. So 2 examples that work, and then 1 example where we're going to deal with the nullness of all of this. What's here? What's going on here? Shopping cart. That should have... Oh, okay, because I've gone and... Okay, let's see if I can tidy up those imports. I think it's that command key. No. Nope. Yes, there we go. Get my keys right. I was playing around with VS Code the other day. I know. It's an interesting beast in terms of the IDE. It's an interesting beast. I did notice that my memory decided to jump up. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I'm coming up to the subscription of PHP Storm IntelliJ. I'm coming up to the subscription. And when I have to pay a subscription and there's other things available, I start looking in other directions. But PHP Storm is amazing. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. But I might play with VS Code over Christmas and just have a play with it. Okay, so this is good. Let's see if we can get this to actually do something and run. So let's go to View, Tools, and Terminal. where are we here? We're in slides. We want to go probably into that's in form validation view. Let's go back. That was what we were doing yesterday. Yeah, yeah. So Darren has said that it is a bit of a hog. It is. It is. You know what I really liked about it? Because as soon as I got into it, I was like, right, let's configure it and make it my own. And I really liked the fact that the configuration was done in JSON, and that you can run it because it's essentially a JavaScript thing. It's an Electron app, isn't it? So as soon as I changed something, I could see it. There wasn't a lot. What I was doing at the time, I know that you do need to restart it from time to time, but what I was doing was it was changing on the fly. And it was so good because it was a code editor. It could work out if the configuration in JSON was correct or not, which I just thought was amazing. That's cool. So I haven't played with the local server yet on VS Code. I haven't played with that yet, but that's super interesting. I guess with me, I think it needs to, as I think one of the crutchy points for me is to get it working with PHP and Xdebug, making sure that I can actually debug my stuff like I do with PHP Storm, with the step debugger. I'm sure there is a way of doing this. I really am. And see, I don't use the Docker tools in PHP Storm. I don't. I use the command. I use the terminal. And sometimes I'll use the terminal in PHP Storm, sure, and I'm sure there is a terminal in VS Code. Yeah. So, okay, shopping cart process example. Where are we in here? We need to go into the CD. We need to go into the null object, don't we? Here we go. ls cd into shopping cart. We should have a view. Yes, we do. Okay, in there should be an index. Awesome. PHP-s local server. Jump on there. See if that comes up with anything. Don't know why that went into that browser. Let's move it over here. There we go. So this is the two commands. We're applying the discount code and we're calculating the shipping total. Right, let's see if we can run this without actually running a command, and let's see what blows up. So I'm just going to do, I'm going to comment all of this stuff out, right? And I'm going to do invoker run. So we're not setting a command at all. We're just doing an invoker run. This is going to blow up. Boom. Boom. You can hear the explosions from Gloucester. So call to member function execute on null on line 19. So this is because we have attempted to run the invoker without actually supplying a command. So this is actually a valid use case, because there could be a case where a command doesn't actually get set. And it's a question of, where do you capture this? Do you just blow this up? Do you just grind your system to a halt, or is it an acceptable use case that a command may not exist? And how would you handle that better? Like what I was talking about when you're looping over a folder structure and you're trying to list out all of the contents in folders, and you're doing that recursively. What happens if there is no files in a particular nested directory? Do you blow up, or do you just continue on and move on? So this is where something returns null, and you're trying to handle it. My throat is getting really... So Segfault's mentioning subline text. So I have played with that. And I must admit, let's caveat this with the fact that I played with this about 2 years ago. It was an absolute ball ache to get configured, because it was just a challenge. It was just such a challenge, and I felt very out of my depth, out of my comfort zone, because it was literally completely bare bones when I got it. and I wasn't overly happy with the fact that there was so much I had to do. There was so much I had to do in order to actually do anything. In the same sense as what I was doing on my usual day to day. I know that some people love it. Some people love it, and I haven't used it for years, so it's probably much better than it was. My experience, plus my knowledge of how to use JSON and configure things and stuff, has increased. So yeah, so I'm not dismissing it, but it's just not. The thing is, when you're working like on stuff, you don't factor in time to configure your setup. You just want to open up an app and start writing code. And then if you start going, oh, actually, no, I need to get this, I need to download that, I need to do this, hours and hours go. And as a freelancer, you can't do that. So this is why I'm pushing back the fact that my Stream Deck doesn't work until the weekend, because that's time that I have, my own time that I have to do that. Or I'll get up earlier. But to be honest, if I was to get up any earlier, there's no point in going to sleep. So, so that's a weekend job. So, okay, so this has gone and blown up, right? Boom. We want to try and sort this out so it doesn't do that. So, in the run. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. In the run here, what we want to do is check whether there is a command. We want to make sure that there is a command. We could even, if we wanted to, we could even set this to null, so we don't actually have to supply a command to here. Or if we wanted to, we could create this as with a constructor, and then again set that to null if we wanted to. But really, what we need to do, the check is done in here. So, for example, if this command is an instance of, and because we've got the interface, we can check that. So we can do command, if I can spell it, command interface. Hey, CS Gaming. I'm good, thank you. I'm a little bit under the weather, I think, this morning. I'm going to have to take some vitamin C tablets. But yeah, I'm good, thank you. Okay, so if this command is an instance of command interface, then we execute it, right? So that's one way of getting around this. But still, that's not how one should set this up. Let's just run this and just see. If we ran that, then we don't have any commands here. Okay, so that, I guess that's one way of handling the fact that we might not have an interface. But we should set this. We should acknowledge the fact that there is a null, and therefore we need to have ourselves a null command. So we're just going to do new file, and we're going to do null command. Okay. So the null command implements the command interface again, right? But it's the execute. It's the execute that we don't that returns nothing. So because it returns void, we can get away with just doing that. So we can do this doesn't do a thing. Okay. So we still need the receiver, fine. That's fine. But what we can do is we can get away with, in the invoker here, we can get away with the fact that we don't have the command interface, because what we can do is we can set that. If we go into the view, we can do when we invoke and we do the run, we can define whether or not we can define whether or not we have a object, a command, if we wanted to. So excuse me, we need to supply the receiver to the null command because we need to inject that. So if I go to apply discount command here just to see, we can do this here. So we can inject the receiver in. Let's think, how would I do that with the null command here? Because I don't really want to be injecting it straight away. Essentially what I want to do in the invoker is, in the invoker I want to do something like this. So if command interface is not that, we still want to execute the command. We do this command is equal to new null command, and obviously we need to supply the receiver, but I need to think about how that works. Because that's essentially what we want to end with, but there is a problem here because it's a required parameter. The required parameter is the receiver. That goes in here. Did I have a reason as to why we had the constructor in here? What are we doing here? We don't actually need the receiver, do we? No, we don't. We don't need any of this. No, we don't. It's just a null command, and because it's a command interface, we don't need to worry about that. I'm just making myself a lot of work. There we go. Okay. Right, and then we can run execute. So this should now hopefully, yeah, continue on as is. Continue on as is. So the whole point here is that we are handling the fact that we don't have a command. And so what we do is we create one, a null object, which means that when we do this execute, we can run execute against the null command, and that doesn't do anything because it's null, because that's how it works. It sort of handles the fact that that is null. And now we can do various things with this if we wanted to. So, for example, we could print something out to say that no command was ran. We could, put this into a logger. We could wrap this into something else. We could, if we wanted to, just not handle the fact that. If we wanted to handle the fact that we didn't want to throw an exception, but we wanted to handle it more gently. Then we would do something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at how let's do this. Did that just literally receive, and that did a send, didn't it? And the send, what did that do? That did an output. And then get output does the HTML. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if we put this back, now what I'm going to have to do, of course, is I'm going to have to instantiate a new invoker, because if I was to just run this again, it's just going to use the calculate shipping command again. So if I was to run this once more, then we would do that. So calculate shipping again. So what I need to do really is I need to create a new invoker. And instantiate that. So I need to do invoker2 or invoker null is equal to new invoker, and then run invoker null on that. There we go. So even though we've ran a command, even though we've ran the invoker without the command set, it's still working. I just want to double check something, because we are injecting the receiver into each of these commands. Does that mean, I just want to double check something. Can I do, I just want to double check something. Invoker 1 is equal to new invoker, and set that to be invoker 1. Invoker 2. Right, I just want to see. Awesome. Okay, so that is, because we are injecting the receiver into each of these commands, it means that the receiver is still being persisted, in the sense of the list is still being persisted, because we are sending that to the receiver, which means that in the null command, what we could do is we could just print something out here. I mean, it's going to return void, and it needs to return void, to be honest. But we could, if we wanted to, we could wrap this up into something. Let me just try and do an echo of null this command. I mean, this isn't really technically, this command is empty. How you should handle the execute in here, it should be empty because it's null, but I just want to double check something. This command is empty. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me just see. Let's go down some notes. Okay, cool. That's good. That's okay. I think I'm going to remove that though, because it is supposed to be empty. So let's bring that back. There we go. So in the index.php here, we can get rid of the new instantiation of that. We're going to do invoke a discount. Let's make this a little bit more verbose. It's discount. This is invoker shipping. And that's null. Okay, and then that's the receiver get output. Okay, cool. So let's go and write this up as a concept, right? In the slides, that would help. Slides. We'll copy you. Actually, we might as well just copy the command one, to be honest. Paste that in here. Put this in as null object. Null. Lowercase null underscore object. Because this is new, I'm going to need to change the behavior, the index page, which is that one here. I think I might do it after the command. I think I might do it after the command object, because it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So let's do null object here. Null object. And this is null underscore object. This should be, if I can get it right, object.html. Save that. Let's go into here. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. Let's make some room. So this is the null object pattern. So we've got the receiver and the command interface and all of that. We can just keep this going through. That's no problem. Command B. The change was, we changed all of this to be invoker 1. So let's take that down there. Put that in here. That is invoker 1. And then let's grab that Oh, sorry, invoker1 needs to run that. Okay, then I'll tell you what, just copy all of this, change that to be invoker2. And that's command B. And then this one would be invoker3. Hopefully this will all fit on the page. And we're not setting the command. Boom. So we'll put in some comments here. No command was not set, and therefore a null object was used. Okay, and then here we're going to change that to be command. This is null object. Okay, and obviously we need to change this here as well. So when we go back up to the top to the invoker, it is just this change. Yes, just that's changed, isn't it? It's in the run. So I'm just going to double check whether or not the slides have broken, because I've extended them somewhat. So let's go to the slides, and I believe it was npx. Run all those things. I don't think I'm in the right place here. I think I need to be down a directory, but we'll see. I'll get an error if not. Take care, Tyranid. I've just seen your message. Take care. Have fun with your clients. Take care. Oh no, that has broken. I'm in the wrong place. So let's do a cd. Boom, boom, boom. Let's try that again. This tea's getting cold. I'm going to have to make another one in a minute, I think. Okay, all the things. That seems good. Right, it's now in watch mode. Woo! And hopefully there is in here, yes, there is the null object. So that has gone through. Wonderful. Let's go and open up the index, the actual website. So let's go to the dist folder. And again, this is going to be, I mean, I didn't mention it, but this is part of a design patterns course that I'm producing for next year. So this is, you'll get all of this in the course. And this is a website. Boom. This is a website that we're building from the markdown files that we're creating. So it's a behavioral pattern, and if we go to here, we should see the null object. Now, that's not good. You see, this is actually not the list is starting to get too big. It's touching the footer here. So I'm going to have to adjust this. The null object, this is what we've just put in. These are the slides. So it's a behavioral design pattern. I'll talk about, whoops, go back. I'll talk about the concept. You're going to use the command pattern. So we have the receiver, command interface, command A, command B, invoker. What I do need to do in here, as I've just noticed, is I do need to add the actual null command as an example. That's what I do need to do. So we're going to copy all of that. We're going to go into the null thing here, the markdown file. And I think what we're going to do, I don't need to show the first. Now this is a weird one. Do I need to show all of the, because essentially what I've done is copied and pasted from the command pattern to the null object pattern. So in the slides, I'm essentially showing the same thing again and again and again. Now, this might annoy students, because I'm having to, they're going through the same thing. However, I also need to consider the fact that there might be students who jump in and out of different patterns. So, I guess I could probably copy and paste the code, but in terms of the actual slides, I don't think that that's going to have any benefit. So what I'm going to do, and because I've defined that the null object gets taught after the command pattern, I think it's probably safe to remove all of this. I think I might keep the interface. There's no need for that blank thing here. And I'll remove the command A and command B. I'll remove those. The invoker I still need because of this stuff here, but I think what I could get away with is I could do that. Okay, so now what I need to do is do PHP, and we can get away with removing all of this stuff because we are in PHP. That's fine. We need the interface because we're showing what the interface is, but this is the thing. So this I'm just going to put in do nothing here. Do nothing. Okay. I think that's okay. Let's put in a third one here. Yep. Let's see if that makes the slides any better. Let's go back to here. So the important parts of the code is obviously the interface and the null command, obviously, and the fact that we have this ability of checking whether or not we have a command interface, and if we don't, we instantiate a null command and then we execute that. So what I'm thinking of doing, let's just put that down as a new line. There we go here. So I think that's okay, just to explain what the null pattern does, I think. So I tell you what, even in this slide here, I don't think I need all of this stuff. So we could just call this invoker. And we don't need a receiver. Command was not set, and therefore a null object was used. Yeah, I think that works. That works quite well. Good. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. I do want to use some time in today's stream to just tidy up the slides because there's an awful lot of slides, and I just want to tidy this up. Something I don't like is this. This is huge, right? And because we've got our own CSS now, we can actually start playing around with the way this website looks, which is nice. But if you see, on the home we've got this list of behavioral, structural, and behavioral, creational, and structural. We have done command, null object, iterator, mediator, memento, observer. We've done have we done states? Yes, we've done states. There's so much of these I've done. We need to go back to there. We've done states. We've done strategy, I think. We've done templates. We haven't done visitor, and we definitely haven't done specification. Have we done visitor? No, we haven't done visitor. Okay, visitor isn't done. So that's one that we need to do. And strategy, have we done strategy? No, we haven't done strategy either. Well, I thought I had done that. Have I done strategy up here? Example out. Yeah, I've done strategy here. Okay, so I need to put in some slides for strategy. So that needs to happen. But does that mean then, therefore, that we only have if we only have the visitor left to do. As in that visitor left to actually code up. That's pretty exciting, because as soon as all the behavioral stuff is done, I then will move on to the creational. In the creational, we have factory, which I've done, static I've done, abstract I think I've done, singleton I've done. I can't remember whether I've done the builder. Let me see in the code. It was probably easier if I go to the code. It was in creational. Abstract I haven't done. No, builder I haven't done. Factory I have done. Pool I haven't done. Singleton I'm sure I've done. Yep. Static factory I haven't done either. Okay, fine. I thought I had done those. Never mind. And then with the structural, we've done the adapter. We haven't done the bridge. We haven't done the composite. We haven't done the data mapper. We've done the decorator. We haven't done the dependency injection. We haven't done the facade. We haven't done flyweight. We haven't done proxy, and we haven't done the registry. So there's a lot of stuff in structural to do. So I think what I'll do is spend the rest of this stream just tidying up this. And I think that the visitor will be the next one I tackle. And then we'll move on. We'll move straight on to the creational, and we'll start tackling these factories. I'm sure, yeah, we've definitely done that factory, but we haven't done the others. Although I'm sure I did the abstract. It might have been something I was working on actually with a client the other day. I don't know. Days seem to be merging when you start writing code every day. Yeah, and then once we've conquered the creational, we will conquer the structural. And then once that's done, happy days. Happy days. Happy days. But there's still a lot to go through. I'm hoping to get maybe the behavioral done by the end of this year. By at least I think that's doable because it's just the visitor here. And then what I'll do is start of next year, I'll probably move on to the creational. And whilst the creational is being worked on, I'll be recording the behavioral. Because what I'll do, of course, is I'll be recording these and editing them. I mean, there's a lot to do here. If you think of all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So there's 27 design patterns that I've listed here, and there might be some more if I choose to add some more. So let's say for argument's sake there's 30, right? So that's 30 sections to this course. That's quite a lot. And then you also have to count into you have to also include things like these kind of things. So this will be a video explaining what behavioral, creational, and structural are. So and then you've got the introduction of the course. Then you've got the conclusion of the course. You've got possibly the conclusion of these. For each one of these things, you've got a video in terms of the introduction of the command pattern, a video on the concept, and then you've got a video that goes through these, and then you've got the video that goes on to the real world example. So before you've even started, let's say we've got 30 design patterns, right? In those design patterns, there are, that's going to be one video, because that'll be in the introduction. Concept will be another one, that's 3. The actual going through this will be 4, and then the video to do the actual real world example is 5. So you've got 30 sections, and in each section there's 5 videos. Do the math. That's a lot of videos to cover. That's not including conclusion. That's not including summary and introduction and stuff. So that's an awful lot of work. That's an awful lot of work to crack through, and I'm hoping that I can get this done by the end of next year. So this is probably going to be one of the biggest courses that I've done. Plus, if anything of my experience is to go by, you'll have many takes. So there'll be many things that I will say on camera that I don't like in post-edit, which means that I will have to do again, or perhaps I've pronounced something wrong. So yeah, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved in this. And whilst this is going on, there's also the JavaScript course that I'm doing, which we just started last week. I just started putting it up on a slide. So that's happening. And the idea is that whilst I record the behavioral, whilst I record the this course, because I want to get to a point where it's just a case of doing recording, so all the coding is done. Because the thing is, the danger is, of course, that I halfway through actually doing this, something changes in perhaps the look and feel of this, and therefore it's going to invalidate all of the previous recordings. So I want to get it to a point where I'm actually happy with all of the code, and which probably won't happen for a long time, many months, I doubt. So I have already done some recording for the behavioral, just to try out. I think I tackled the iterator pattern. Or no, it wasn't. No, I tackled the decorator pattern. It wasn't a behavioral job, and that was a recording of an hour long, and I cut it down to 20 minutes. And I'm not happy with it at all. And also because I've changed the actual structure of the slides, I can't use it anyway. So it was just my way of practicing. So there is an awful lot of work here, involved. I'm gonna grab a cup of tea because my tea is going super cold, but I will be back shortly, in a few minutes. So I'm gonna see if I can get to this slide, and then I'll have a little break, but I will see you again in just a few minutes. And what we'll do is we'll add some CSS to tidy up the slides. But I will speak to you all very soon. I'm back. I'm back and I've got another cup of tea. So we are going to continue on through the what we were doing. What were we doing? We were working on the slides. I'm going to play around with some CSS because I want to make this the slide deck a little bit better. There's a couple of things that I don't like about this. First of all, we have the list. If I can find those lists again, where was it? Behavioral. These lists. I want to adjust the size of this so it's a bit smaller. And also, something that I've just noticed, and I think I mentioned the other day, was by default, everything goes in the middle. Can you see? Everything goes in the middle. Really, what I would like to do is have it so it doesn't go in the middle. Because what's happening is it's based upon, it looks like it's got an auto width. So that box there, this box is a lot smaller than, say, that box, or you know, that box. And there was one, I just try and find it. There was one I looked at the other day, which was I just didn't like. I think it was the template, because there was multiple. Maybe it wasn't the template. Maybe it was the I forget now. There was one of them, and it was like there was two commands on one screen. And because they had different widths and different lengths and stuff, it looked awful. Let's see if I can just quickly find that. That was in, maybe it was in strategy. No, it wasn't in strategy. We haven't got strategy on here. Mediator, maybe. Can you see? It's just changing the size. It's just changing the size. So really what I would like to do is sort of manipulate that. I think the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take a look at the CSS for the list, because that's huge. I'd like to scale that down a little bit. So what we're going to do, and I've never done this. Well, I've only done this lightly before. I haven't really done this in MARP a great deal. So we're going to just see if we can actually get this to work. So we're going to do assets CSS styles.css, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do ULLI, and we're going to do font size. Let's change this to 1EM and see what that does. So if I was to refresh this, is that going to scale down? No. Okay. So let's see if we can actually target one of these things. So we've got LI here. Okay, so this is what looks like the pattern here. Foreign object section ULLI follows that. Okay, so let's see if we can tackle that. So we do section UL UI. Because I guess if I was to change that to, say, 0.5, there we go. That makes it much smaller. Not what we want, but still. So section, where's section? So foreign object is there, then section is that. So maybe we need to do section. And refresh. I think maybe I need to rebuild the whole thing before. Let's just try. If I change that to do like 0.5 and save that. No, it's not. So it's not actually rebuilding this. That's a shame. Oh yes, it is rebuilding it. It is rebuilding it. So if we were to refresh that, there we go. That seems to have worked. So in section, we have the UL, and then we have the LI, and we can see that we've changed it now to 0.5. So let's change that to, say, I don't know, 0.9. There we go, 0.9, and you can see it's rapidly changing. That's better, I think, than before. Is there a way, though, that I can manipulate? Okay, so that's the background color. Is there a way I can actually manipulate the things inside this? So we've got font weight, no wrap, blah, 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 blah. Don't have to worry about that. That's padding. Text align center. Okay, so that's for the padding. There's a little bit of discovery work here. UL, here we go. Margin is 0 auto. Aha. Okay, that's interesting. Now I'm starting to think perhaps. So I'm still on the fence as to whether or not I need to be come in here as a talking head, as a green screen, or whether I should not do that and just talk through. Because some people prefer to see the lecturer on the screen, and some people prefer to go through. Just hear the lecture rather than see the lecture. But if I was to use a green screen, I could move the list to one side and then have me here. So that's potential. That is potential. All of these decisions are yet to happen. I think what we could also do with is tidying up this footer. If I can find it. Where is the footer? Here we go. The footer. So that's that. Margin bottom 30. What's that do? Okay, so that's putting it at the bottom there. Position is absolute. I'm wondering if there's another theme I could use to override this, because there's a lot of stuff in here. There is a lot of stuff in here. I guess what I could do is I could reset it all and then hack it up myself. Let's see what happens with an actual, because this is now all centered, which is not what I wanted. Let's see if we can go into here and take a look at this. So it's the pre-tag. Font size is 20. So that's the usual font size. Is there a way I can make the actual section, the padding here, 0.4? There we go. So that's the padding. Okay, so we can control that. And the margin here. Awesome. That's what I want. That's what I want. Because essentially what I want to do is the auto. That's the thing that's causing it here. What I want to do is I want to have consistent code blocks that are the same width, the same height, not the same height, the same width throughout. So this here, I need to tidy this up. This is because of the auto here, because it's right smack bang in the middle. So let's see if we can tidy that up at least. Can I grab that? Are you going to allow me to grab that? Thank you, because I'm lazy. I just want to press Control C. So in the pre here, we can do margin. And it's the auto which is having the problem. And I think what I need to do is I need to set that to 0 and 0. And there we go. So can you see now they are all now in the same place, apart from obviously the height. So that's another thing that I want to tackle. I want the code to be at the same start at the same position. I don't want people's eyes to have to look for the code, right? I want a nice, consistent way of doing this. And I'm actually starting to think now that perhaps I should split the page up into two sections. One half of the section being code, that perhaps would be the left-hand side. Another section would perhaps be my talking head, and then the footer at the bottom. So you can kind of break it up into that kind of sort of thing. And also I'm thinking that maybe we need to put this in, not the footer, in the header. So it goes in the header. So it's actually more of a website. And now I'm starting to think that perhaps MARP is not the best tool for this, and maybe I should use Gatsby. That's an interesting concept. If I was to use Gatsby, because essentially, I mean, MARP is great because it allows you to convert markdown files into presentation slides, such as PowerPoint presentations, such as keynote presentations. I used it when I was speaking this year, and it's a fantastic tool. However, we're not creating such a thing. We are going to create a website that I am using for a course, and I'll be using these slides as a means of a way of doing a recording, right? So in OBS, I'll put this as the background, and then I'll have my talking head on the right hand side or something like that. However, because this isn't actually a PowerPoint presentation, there's no need to use the tooling that MARP has for that to happen. So potentially I could get away with using just creating a static site. There is potential there. However, the challenge with that, of course, is that which does suck. Yeah, it does suck a bit, because the thing is, I would like the student to have this, themselves, so they can download this. If they get the course, they have this themselves, so they can actually spin this up. And I think that Gatsby is a bit of a barrier of entry for that. I wouldn't want them to say, I wouldn't want them to have to learn Gatsby in order to actually bring up the slides here. However, it is a static site, so I could build the site and then provide them with the dist of that. Lots to think about, but there is a Gatsby. I'm sure I saw the other day, because I've been playing a lot around with Gatsby. There is a Gatsby JS theme for slides. I'm sure there is. View plugin on. Yeah, there must be loads. Slide deck. Yeah, bring that up. Yeah, so here we've got a Gatsby theme deck, and it's written in a similar way to MARP, except there isn't the three dots to denote that there is a slide, which is a shame. But you've got things like layouts and menus and all sorts of stuff. So maybe this weekend I might, as well as fixing my Stream Deck, which no longer works because of the update to OBS. Thank you very much, OBS. I will perhaps look at Gatsby as a means of creating these slides. An example, then my website would have a slide deck using example my slide. Is there a, can I go to GitHub here? And can I see, is there any way of actually seeing what this looks like? in the wild. That would be awesome if I could. Don't think there is any screenshots. Okay. Interesting. So now I'm debating whether or not I need to actually use MARP. Also, I like this. I want them to be able to click through as a slide deck. So I do need that functionality. Also, there is the challenge, of course, that this is a HTML website, but the actual real world examples need PHP. And so if I was to open that up, that would throw an error because we need to have the local server running. Yeah, so I need some level of documentation here just to say to run this, run this code, run this command at that location. Lots to think about. Okay, I tell you what, because I'm now doubting myself as to the actual tooling to use, maybe we need to consider the content more than the actual design of this. Maybe I need to go away and actually think about the design of these slides, and then come up with a final agreement as to what I'm going to use. Because this whatever tool I'm going to use is the tool I'm going to be using for all of the next year's courses that I'm doing. So I want to really define what that is going forward, and I don't think I can make a decision right now on sort of a knee-jerk reaction, just thinking about Gatsby. I think I need to spend some time and play with these tools, and it's Christmas, I guess, is the perfect time for that, so I'll play with that. So let's move away from the design and focus on the actual content. So let's go through the content. I'm going to just move that down here. Bring that up here. I think that's coming off of the page. Can I drag that up a little bit? Thank you. Okay, so all right. So we'll start from the home. So this will be the introduction of the course, and I did the calculation whilst I was getting my tea. The calculation of the amount of videos, the minimum amount of videos in this course. I should say the potential minimum of videos in this course is 150. This is going to be a lot of work. And I need to be very realistic as the time frames of this. And it's 150 because there is roughly 30 design patterns that I'm going to be covering. This is behavioral, this is creational, this is structural. So all of these are the design patterns that I'm covering. And then in each of the patterns themselves, so let's round it up to say there's 30 patterns. So this is all rounded up, by the way. 30 patterns. And then in each pattern, we have the introduction. We've got a theory, talk about the concept of each pattern. And then we have, the introduction will be video 1. It's going to be a short video, right? But still video 1. And then the theory is going to be second video. And then the third video will be talking about, we're going through the actual concept. So I'll be talking about the concept, the theory, the definition. I think this is, what's this? The command pattern. The definition of the command pattern. That's video 2. And then video 3 will be going through the actual concept. So in this case, we're talking about the receiver, the command interface, the command A, command B, the invoker, and then the example. So that will be the third. And the fourth video would be going through the real world example. And that's going through all of the code up here. So going through and doing a video that covers all of these things, right, in the real world sense. And then potentially there might be a wrap-up video, a video at the end to say, in the next video, we're going to be covering maybe the null object pattern, null object. And then again, we would have the introduction, the concept. Then we would have the actual going through the concept examples, and then after that, we will have the real world example as well. So there's about 3 or 4. I'm going to round it up to 5 videos. Some of them are going to be small, like perhaps the conclusion video for each section. So in the next video we'll be covering blah blah blah. That's going to be nice and slim. I think the real world examples, the concepts, they're actually going to be quite in depth, so they'll be much bigger. They're probably going to be range from 5 to 10 minutes long. The concept is probably going to be about 2 minutes maybe, and then the introduction as well. So yeah, I'm thinking that potentially there's going to be 150 videos minimum just to cover that. Now that doesn't include, of course, the actual introduction of the course. So at this point we're introducing the design patterns course, and then we are discussing what is the difference between behavioral, creational, and structural. So there is that. So that's another 2 slides, and then after that we then have the final slide, which is the conclusion of the whole course. Plus, there's going to be a slide. I guess we need to have a slide for coming up. So after the visitor pattern, for instance. That we have here, we need to have a video that tells people to go onto the creational, and then from the creational we need to have a video after that tell them to go onto the structural. So there's all that kind of like structured videos to sort of help with the flow of the course. So there's an awful lot of content that I'm going to be doing next year for this course, and I guess really it's only been today that I've actually appreciated the amount of work that I've set myself to do. And we have focused on the behavioral today. We did the null object pattern here. We've already done the command. We've done the iterator, the mediator, the memento, the observer. We haven't done specification. We've done state. We've done strategy. We've done template. We haven't done the visitor. So we've got 1 or 2 to do before we complete the behavioral. On the creational, we've done the factory, and then we have to do the other bits and pieces as well. And then on structural, we've done adapter, we've done decorator, but we haven't done the others. So there is an awful lot of code left to write. Okay. Don't know why that's... Fair enough. Okay, just a message on my phone. So let's talk through this. So the first one is the home page. This is the home. So this will be an introduction to the course. After that, we have an introduction to the behavioral, creational, structural. Fine. Okay. Do I need a slide after this? I don't think I do. We then go straight into the behavioral. That will be an introduction to the behavioral. These are all the patterns that are listed here, and again, potentially these will be on the left-hand side, and there'll be a talking head on the right-hand side, so I'll sort of talk through all of these. Do I need a slide after this? No, I don't think I do, because we're going to go straight into the command. So the command pattern, this is the introduction for the command pattern. I'll be then talking about the concept of the command pattern in the sense of, what it is in words, without any explanation, without any demonstration or examples, just explaining what the concept is. And then after that, we then go into the concept. So this is the receiver, the command interface, command A, command B, invoker, and then the example of how that works. Then we go into the real world example. So the real world example, this is an interesting job because we now have to spin up a PHP server for the real world example to work. So I guess at some point I need to have something for that to show, but also we need to have a slide after this to then take them to the null object pattern. So there's a couple of things I need to do here. first of all, I need to have some sort of indication of spinning up the server. So what I'm going to do in here in the actual slides, in behavioral, it is in command, right at the bottom, we're going to have an example of how that works. So I'm going to spin up, so PHP, so that this would be PHP -s to bring up the local server. And you would supply this path. So from this slide, you would supply that, or from the, let's do from the root directory. So from the root directory, if I go to here, come out of come out of that. We would go to cd. The root directory is there. Okay, so I need to do PHP -s. Local host, we're going to do port 80, 80, and I think we can supply the path. I think. Let me just do a PHP -s -help. Nope. -help. There we go. And just have a look at the S here. -s. There we go. So we got address, and then we've got, that's a shame. So we're going to have to go into, we got T. We can specify the doc root. Awesome. Okay. So we could do PHP -s, and then obviously the local host, and then -t. We could go code, src, sections, behavioral it is, and we could do command, and then it's shopping cart process, and then view, and then index. Well, it's doc root, so it should be that. So if I press enter now, and then open that up, there we go. So that goes straight to this section here. So that brings up another question. It's like, well, do I need to have, could I just put view inside the command? Could I just put the index inside command? Maybe that would work better rather than have the shopping cart process. Let's leave it as is. I'll make that decision, I think. I'll go through all of this again on my own, I think, and go through that decision. But essentially, what I need to do here is I need to put that in. And this is bash. This isn't PHP. So if I go back to the slides, which is there, that is the command, that I need to run. So run that command and then click on that link. Actually, no, don't click on that link. Run that command and then you click on, you go to localhost 8083, don't you? So in fact, that needs to be removed to be HTTP localhost. I don't know why I've done it 8083, but whatever. Okay, so hopefully now if I was to click that, we would go there. Wonderful. Okay, so that gets around that solution. So let's just take that gets around that solution. That gets around that that problem. Can I go back here? There we go. Yeah, why is there a space there? There shouldn't be a space. There we go. So I might tidy this up a little bit. So let's do run the localhost to get the example. Now, I'm wondering, can I do the same for? can I do the same for another example? I just want to see if this is going to freak out. I was playing with Gatsby yesterday, of course, and it freaked out because I had different. I had the same. I was trying to run a site on the same port, and it came up with this error. It asked me to change the port. Basically, I just want to make sure that's the same. I've never actually ran the same site on the same port on a local host, so. And that's probably why I changed it to 8083. So I think I'm going to just change do a change to the null object pattern here. Yeah, Segfault said nmap for the win. Yeah, I've nmap. So this would be null object. I think this is right, null object. And this would be probably shopping cart process. I've probably kept it as is. Let's have a look. Yes, I have. So this goes into here in the view. Okay, so let's see if we can go to behavioral again. Click on the null object. Click on all the way to the end. Right, I want to run this command. What do I want to do that? I want to run that in the actual terminal, don't I? So let's go to not slides. Let's bring up another thing here. Is this going to blow up? Yes. It's already in use. Okay. Thing is, I don't want people to send me messages saying, I tried to do this example, and then I tried to do another example, and now it's saying that this is already in use. You'll be surprised at how many people will be sending me that message. So, one way to get around this, of course, is to have a port for every example. That's one way to get around it, right? So, that would be, if we were to start with, that would be perhaps port 8081. 8081. And then this one here would be 8082. 8082. And of course I need to change the this to be HTTP localhost localhost, and then it was 8082. Let's just double check that. Localhost, yeah. And I put it at the bottom. I think what I could do is I could probably change this to be example here. So I could actually have a consistent message. Because consistency is really, really good, I think. Especially when you're doing 150 videos. My God, what have I agreed to? In fact, we could do run example. Run, turn it like that. I mean, that if we were to use Gatsby, that would be a button, right? So we would just have a run. We run that, and then you would hit run. Because running that would go to localhost 8081. Obviously, I need to change all of these things. Let's remove that. Kill this. Go into here. Change this to 8081. This is why I'm thinking that I need to change the actual paths a little bit to make them a little bit more manageable. So then we would come out of that. And now I've just gone into... And that would be 81. There we go. Awesome. And I've gone and killed the slides, haven't I? Darn it. Yeah. So I think there's going to be like some I'm going to need to create a level of consistency across all of this stuff. So that's 8081. This is 8082. The next one will be 8083, and so on and so forth. I'm starting to think that perhaps because we've only got, and I say we've only got, because there's only one real world example. I did have a very ambitious, shall we say, ambitious attitude when I started this course. So have 3 examples for everyone, but that would just be, times 150 by 3. Let's not do that. So what I think I might do is remove the folder structure here and just have it as straight into command, and then have an index.php. That would make things a lot simpler. That would also mean that there isn't any need for that in the string. That would probably work better. Yeah. So there's a bit of faffing about. There's a bit of faffing about to get this to in shape. But I think that's going to be my challenge for the next for this weekend is to see if I can beat this into some sort of shape. Because really I want to, when I get to the point of doing the other types of patterns, the categories of patterns, like the structural the structural patterns, I think that what I'm going to want to do is have a level of consistency. There's more design patterns in the behavioral than there are in creational, and in structural as well. I mean, there's a lot in structural, but there's not as much than in behavioral. So I think if I can get all the things done by the time I finish behavioral, then and have an agreement as to how the tooling I'm actually going to use, and come up with a theme that I'm going to use, then I think the others would be a little bit more snapped together, because I don't want to be lost in the weeds here. I don't want to just suddenly, I don't want to be faffing about with the theme, the styling when I get down to flyweight, when I get down to proxy or facade. I want to have things already snapped together. So, I want to know that there is a conclusion slide that I just have to put in, change some words, that I've had some sort of agreement in my head as to the structure of all of this. There's no point in having these things. There is absolutely no point, because there is only one. There's only one example. There's only one example. So having another directory is pointless, absolutely pointless. And in Vue, there's just an index, and that's the same in all of these. So I think that what I'm going to do is sort of try and take a minimalistic approach to this, and have the ability. So when you get to the point of in the slides where you can see the real world example, all you're doing essentially is you're changing just the behavioral and the name of the pattern. That's all you need to change, and then you just you run that command, and then you click on the button, and it's there. Yeah, I think that sounds good. But I'm interested in the Gatsby thing. I'm thinking about maybe looking at Gatsby as a means of this instead of MARP. I've done a lot of Gatsby stuff recently. That's why. I've been doing a lot of React work in me spare time. I've been playing around with a bit of React, and I do like it. Okay, so we've got the command here. Let's see if we can actually just get one thing done, right? Let's just see if we can get one. I'm going to have to open the dist folder here. Dist, and go into the index and open this up. Let's see if we can just get the command pattern done. So we've got the command pattern. We go to the concept. That's going to be an explanation. Then we go into here. That's fine. All of these things. And then we've got the real world example. I want to have another slide, a final slide of where to go to next, with a button that takes you to that place. So in the next video, and the idea from this is from my packed courses that I've done. because after every video, every section, there is a thing that I do at the end that they've asked me to do, and they've given me the template to do so, which says in the next video, in the next section, and it's kind of like a sort of a brief overview as to what to expect next and a jump off point. And that's what I'm going to be doing, I think, here. So in the command MD, we're going to have another slide, and we're going to have in the next. Now, do I say in the next video, or do I say in the next? I think I'm going to do in the next demonstration, or in the next example. Coming up next. I'm not sure. In the next example, we will be covering, and then it will be, for this one, it'll be null object. Okay, so that is there. In the next example, we'll be covering the null object, and I would like to have a button which says null, the name of the pattern that we're going. In the next example, in the next design pattern, there we go, in the next design pattern, let's call it what it is. In the next design pattern, or the next design pattern we will be covering is the next, words are difficult. The next design pattern that we will be covering is the, and maybe I need to covering is the, and then, no, keep that, null pattern, and then this goes to, where does this go? This would go to, I think this would go to null object, and it would be HTML because that is because it gets converted to HTML. Let's see if that works. So the next design pattern that we will be covering is the null object. So we click on that. Yes, we go to the null object. Wonderful. That's brilliant. I like that. Cool. The next design pattern that we will be covering is the null object. Good. Click on that. I might change that to be something because I'm null object. Maybe I need to not have that. Is that gonna? Is the null object, and then have that as the button. Maybe, yeah. Or just put that up there. Is the null object, and then you can click on the null object and it goes to the null object. Then concept, blah, 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 real world example, and then the one after that. Yeah, I think that's probably, I think if I was to use the content, the actual flow of this slide deck, I think that this is a good template to use. So I think what I'll do, as well as decide as whether we're using MARP or whether we're using Gatsby this weekend, I think I will also go through the slides. I won't do them all here. I'll do them off stream, I think. I'll go through each one and I'll make them, I'll come up with with where we're going to at the end. So for example, with the null object, after that we go to the iterator. So we'll need to have a slide at the very end of the null object to go to there. Like with the iterator, we go to the mediator and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think that kind of works. That kind of works well. Right. I'm going to have to dive off because I do need to crack on with the rest of my day. I'm a freelance developer, so I do need to crack on and get on with some other bits and pieces. Surprisingly enough, I'm actually working on something completely different to this today. I'm going to be working on some Magento. And later on in the evening, I'm going to be working on some Gatsby stuff. I'm working on the Code Challenges site at the moment. So that's what the Gatsby is all about. That's why I'm kind of half and half thinking about whether or not this needs to be Gatsby or whether it needs to be MARP. I don't really know. But anyway, I do need to dive off. But thank you ever so much, everybody, for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you all. And thank you all for chatting away in the chat and talking about VS Code and the things we talk about. And PHP Storm. I forgot what it was called, PHP Storm. But thank you ever so much. If you haven't done so already, please do consider joining the Discord server. We can talk about all of these things there as well, off stream. Also, we're coming close to 100 members on the Discord server. And the Discord server is, I'll get the link for you. That's the link if you want to join. You can either join for free. There is a coding help channel. There is a project feedback channel. There are channels in there for all sorts of coding things, awesome and wonderful things. But if you would like to be a Twitch subscriber or a Patreon, you also get access to the town hall. So every month we have a voice chat meeting, as well as the pro user channel there as well, which I frequent quite a bit. So if you want to talk to me and the other lot of the community, if you've got any coding questions at all and you want some coding help, it's a very welcoming and nice place. It's a nice community of coders. We welcome all levels of coders. If you're just starting out coding, if you've never written a line of code and you want to learn, then please do so. It's very friendly. It's very welcoming. So do check that out. That's at howtocodewell.net/Discord. Anyway, I need to shoot off. Thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Now, my Stream Deck doesn't work, so I'm going to have to see if I can turn this off using OBS. See you later. Cheers. Bye.